You may know her from the Solace in the City podcast, where she's interviewed guests such as Kohn, Nick Viall,
a lot of people we are compatible with and have chemistry with that just aren't our person,
and many more. And Zoe and I, well, we met this week on Hinge. Turns out that she's a young, sober person that's also in the podcast game, so why wouldn't we have our first date on a live podcast?
Or you said you liked Tim Ferriss, right?
No, that was someone else on your roster. But so please welcome Zoe Scurletis. So we're here.
We're here.
This is an interesting podcast. I'm gonna look at the camera for this one. So Zoe and I met on Hinge, and
well, I was in New York. Like I wasn't even here.
Yeah.
So that's
she was in New York.
Funny.
She was building pipeline for her Austin roster.
Building a roster.
And then I found out that she is also sober and she is a podcaster.
Yeah.
So it only made sense that our first date be a podcast. So we're doing it live.
To clarify, I don't know what you define as sober, because I just don't drink.
Oh.
And I don't do hard drugs.
Yeah, I dabble in the weed.
Yeah, California sober, as they say.
Cali sober. Yeah.
I like to clarify that because I feel like it's misleading when I say I'm sober and then people see me with the joint. I'm like, oh, no.
What's funny enough is in Kansas City, it's legal, and I didn't really smoke up there. And then when I got down here, I was I started dabbling more where
That's
it's not
funny.
legal.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be really weird being back in it. Because in New York, it's so legal to the point of it's kind of annoying walking around and you're like, I really don't want to be smelling this right now.
Yeah.
Whereas, so it'll be a weird adjustment. Also, just, am I allowed to curse?
Yeah.
Cuss?
Yeah.
Say down
Let
here?
it fly.
Okay.
Let it
I don't
fly.
have to curse right now. I just.
No, get one out. Get one out.
Which word should I choose? I'm thinking of that meme or TikTok. I like to cuss a little.
Okay, so you sent me an article because I was like,
Yeah.
how should we do this podcast? Should we do a sobriety podcast? Should we do a live first date? How should we do this? Ultimately, we decided on you sent me an article that has these first date questions.
New York City, the New York Times article, 36 questions that lead to love.
36
it's based
questions.
on I don't know where I think I probably first heard about this on a podcast because that's where I get all of my information.
As a millennial does.
Literally, it's a joke, but it's real. But it's basically this woman who did a research study or something about connection, and she found this list of questions that if you put two strangers together and made them ask these questions, that it would make them fall in love, which I think is hilarious because if you saw the list of questions, some of them it's
morbid.
Yeah, a lot of them are pretty morbid, which could also be, people feel this trauma bond or something.
Healthy.
But I do love those questions.
So
and I
yeah,
ask
it's
them
to
a lot.
make you fall in love, but not have a
Hypothetically.
sustainable relationship.
Yeah, I don't know if there was a 10-year follow-up, but it is, I did with my podcast, I incorporated some of those questions in my, the last portion of it, not the ones to do with death because there's a lot of those, but yeah, it's fun to do.
So we each chose 3 questions and we're just going to ping pong this.
Okay.
And then we're going to talk.
I think I have them memorized. Maybe I might have to find
Pull
my
the phone out. And then we're going to bounce to a little sobriety. So the first question I chose,
Okay.
I think it's a little bit of a softball. But if you could change anything about the way that you were raised, what would it be?
That's not what I thought you were going to choose first. Okay. I love my parents. I feel very fortunate with the parents I have and the way I grew up. I will say I love them, but they are very protective, overprotective to a large degree. And I think in some ways that was inhibiting growth for me. It's my first thought is with driving. They were not excited for me to drive. And
Are you
so,
from New York originally?
I mean, at this point, I should say yes. So
Like, where'd
I
you
don't
grow
understand-
up?
New Jersey, which is like
Okay.
suburbia
Yeah.
in a state. But to my defense, I went to a boarding school, and then I lived in a city and another city. So I didn't really get much driving practice. But they're not the type of parents who are like, learn by doing. They're like, we'll teach, like, I don't know. So just with some things, I think if I had a little bit more space, that would have helped. But I can't really change that about the way I grew up because it wasn't really anything I did. It was like I wasn't going to be like, I mean, I did, ask for more space or with it, whether it be with something else. Like, I don't know. I wish my parents had taught me more about like budgeting and things when I was little, or how to use credit cards. Like, there's a lot that I wish they could have done, but I think if anything, I just take that and I'm like, okay, now I know how I want to raise my kids.
Yeah, and then the cycle or the beauty of life kicks in, the circle of life, where
And
it's
I'll be
like
exactly like
your
my mom.
kids will do what they didn't like that you did.
Exactly.
And
oh my God, I cannot imagine.
we're all just doing our best out here.
We're just trying.
Parents, dog parents.
Oh yeah, no,
There's things I would do differently raising my dog now that I'm
it's
10 years into the journey.
10 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I'm only going on 4.
Okay.
She's still a baby. It's actually funny. I volunteered at this camp this past summer, and there was like one of the weeks. Sorry, my brain is still like.
Yeah, Zoe moved yesterday,
20%.
by the way, to Austin, so she's a little.
I'm a little weak. I slept on a mattress. I slept on an air mattress yesterday, so I'm barely awake. But anyways, at this camp, it was only 1 week long, which is why I'm like, what am I talking about? There was a talent show, and my campers were like this group of 11-year-olds, and they went on to the. It's like laughing, picturing this. They went on to go do their little circus number, and the music doesn't play. I lost it. I went full like dance mom, like psychopath.
no.
Was like, where's the music? Where's the music? Like motioning up to the people. And then it was in that moment that I realized I am my mother.
That's a tough look.
I know. And then thank God they started playing.
The dance mom is like up there as far as.
What's the other word for it? Maybe not a dance mom. No, maybe it is.
I think it's a dance mom.
Yeah, or like whatever.
Or like a beauty pageant mom. Like,
yeah, I went like everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, you were really, really involved with them." But no, there was yeah. So to circle back to your point, I guess we all circle of life, the beauty of genetics.
It kicks in. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, it kicks in.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, your question.
My question. This is the one I thought you were going to do first, so you might have it on your list. Sorry. Given the choice of anyone in the world, who would you most want to have dinner with?
Oh, I don't have that one.
Oh, really? Okay. I want your answer for someone who's alive and someone who's dead.
Okay. For alive, this isn't going to be like inspiring. This is just going to be pure.
Selfish.
Yeah,
Okay,
selfish.
fair.
Theo Von,
Okay.
the comic.
Why?
He's just so funny. Like
Yeah.
it would be so fun to just sit there and laugh for. Hopefully, I mean, we try and order like a five dish, like
Yeah. Tasting menu.
Yeah.
You want it to be a long dinner.
drag it out.
Mm-hmm.
So Theo Von for sure for my alive. For my dead, who would I want to?
I have so many people.
Yeah, like I mean, the family thing is like intriguing.
Like a great grandparent or something.
Yeah, or just like a grandparent, but at the same time, it would suck to choose one.
Yeah, that's such a good.
You know what I mean? Like it would suck to choose a favorite.
Like a Thanksgiving dinner back in 1905.
Yeah, I'm just gonna avoid that. I'm trying to think along the lines of like a mystery that I want to know.
Like a John F. Kennedy.
Yeah.
Marilyn Monroe.
Like trying to think what good documentaries I've seen lately.
Oh my God. Do you know who I want now?
Who?
Sorry, now I'm just
No,
thinking
go.
of more.
I'm thinking.
I want Kim Porter.
Wait, who's Kim Porter?
P. Diddy's ex-wife.
Oh, she's dead?
Yeah, isn't that looking really interesting right now? Or Alia?
I've been following. So you know that Who is doing like a documentary on the Diddy stuff, like in real time. Hulu.
Oh. You meant the band. I was like, that's so random.
Hulu.
Of course they are. I mean, oh wait, no, I saw it. The 2021.
No, it's like in real time. Like they're covering weekly episodes.
Can you Netflix, like all of those streaming services? This is the best thing to ever happen to them. Like, yeah. I want.
Yeah, it's freaking me out. Like I talked last week about it. Oh my God. Like I'm just starting to like connect all the dots.
You know that Always Sunny meme where Charlie is like,
oh yeah,
that's me.
And it's like all speculation, but at the same time, it's like,
is it?
I mean, I don't know.
With like the Biggie and like Tupac, like
right.
It's oh my God, I could
like I don't know why, but like this, I have like a huge soft spot for Bieber, and like that's what I'm just like praying he wasn't like the like sacrifice for, you know.
I think he was one of many, to be honest.
Which is just like crazy because
and like also just like it's. I mean, sorry, this is such a deviation from the conversation, but I think it's really important. It is really interesting, like having this come out around the same time that this, like, I don't know if you saw like the show about the Menendez brothers.
Yes, like, I did just watch that.
I thought it was good. I know people are like, fuck Ryan Murphy, whatever. I thought it was good, and I liked the acting. And I also watched the documentary to make sure I was like getting based in facts rather than
I need
fiction.
to watch the documentary because I only have. What's different?
Well, they're like, Eric isn't gay. Like, you know, there was, Ryan Murphy loves like a little flair.
Yeah, a little zest.
A little zest. And like, why are all of his shows literally like kind of on the same thing? But essentially, you know, I think is so interesting is there's just like this pattern of, you know, generational or like, what's the word? But when it's passed down, like the father was like abused by his dad and then he abuses his kids, like, or with Diddy it's like, you know, that he probably abused Usher and then Usher probably abused Bieber. It's like, it's just so sad that people like, it's such a really awful cycle that needs to be broken.
And like what's more fucked up about that, because like, not that I understand it, but I understand it because it happens a lot, right? Like when you explain it that way, I'm like, I don't understand it, but I get that this is a pattern. So like there's like, something there. What doesn't make sense to me is that it sounds like, and I'm not going to say names because we don't have any names, but like
allegedly
50 some people are in a circle watching.
Yeah.
So it's like
I don't know, mob mentality.
What's
like,
going on there? And
or you said you liked Tim Ferriss, right? Did you say that?
No, that was someone else on your roster, but
I was talking.
I do.
He's an Austin guy.
Yeah,
but he
has
had
like
that
a
similar,
episode.
and like same cycle. It's just really crazy to me. But so that's why I'd want to get all the answers from Kim Porter, and I'd want to read her little book that she wrote before she mysteriously died of pneumonia.
Yeah, pneumonia.
But that's actually not my first person.
I'm gonna go with Mac Miller.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Got me a little young Mac Miller tattoo right here.
Oh my gosh, nice. Why Mac Miller?
Just good guy. Would love to talk to him about like the addiction side of things and if he was actually in a good spot, where he was really at mentally. I think all that would be interesting.
I like that answer. Can I give mine even though I didn't ask this, or you didn't ask this question?
I thought you did already.
Well, that was a new one. I have now a list. Similar Mac Miller vibe. It would be like an Anthony Bourdain.
Ooh.
Especially a dinner.
Like a happy guy.
He chooses
that kind of.
Or Robin Williams.
Yeah, the comic route.
Yeah.
Lots of comics on our list. Theo, Robin,
I know, exactly.
Anthony.
It would be a funny dinner. And I just want to know, like.
And they're all deep.
Yeah. And, you know, had a similar story, which is like this really sad, common thing of like everything on the outside looks perfect, but like inside there's so much suffering.
Right.
And that resonates a lot with me because like I got interested in mental health because of my friend dying by suicide, who was like kind of similar vibe to Robin Williams, could do like the most insane impressions of people, was always just laughing and like making other people happy. And so I think it's that really interesting hindsight of like, what did we miss?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And being like, hey, Robin, or like Anthony, like, what did we miss? You know?
Yeah.
But, and also it'd be really entertaining. And if Tony picked the restaurant, that'd be great.
Yeah, he would have
My
some
guy.
experience there.
I gotta be probably really insane.
Ooh, I like this one. Okay. Next question.
Hit me.
Complete this sentence. I wish I had someone with whom. I'm not a big believer in whom or who.
Oh, I love
but
whom. I love a whomst.
I wish I had someone that with whom I could share blank.
Okay, I was looking at that question. I don't know, because I kind of like I want to say like to share traveling, but at the same time, when I was traveling this summer and I was alone, I was like, I'm so happy I'm alone right now.
It's like freeing.
Yeah, and it's like if I want to do something, I can do it,
Yeah.
and I don't have to like. I'm such a people pleaser that like if I have a party, I am not having fun, because the entire time I'm like, is everyone else having fun? That's the only way I'm enjoying myself. So if I were traveling with someone, I'd be like, are they happy we went here? Are they happy we did this? So I guess maybe, I don't know, or I'd say like to share memories. But then it's like, what happens if I'm such a, like, this is why I'm single. It's like, well, okay, what happens if we share those memories and then, you know, something happens and we never speak again? Then I have all these tainted memories about, you know, that I'm in, my time in Bali is tainted by this person that I don't, you know? So it's tough, because on one hand, I'm like, wow, it'd be really nice to share travel or memories with someone. But what happens if, I don't know. It's tough. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We can explore that one later.
I know. And I'm a therapist, but like, this is why I'm in therapy. Okay. What do you value most in friendship? I also, just so you know, I don't like memorize these questions. These are the ones I just like remember. I'm not a psychopath. I didn't like have these clocked in.
Yeah. Whatever you say. What do I value most in friendship? Probably just authenticity. Like I have my close friends, so it's just like I don't really need anyone else. So it's like I'm not, and it's kind of part of like
those close friends have in common? Like,
we can just be like brutally honest with each other in like a almost too harsh of way, but it's like the perfect balance of like calling each other out on our shit. But it doesn't feel, I guess, like conversations I have with them, if I were to have it even with like a acquaintance or like a friend that's not one of my close friends, it would feel awful. But we can just casually have these conversations of,
like the benefit, like from the benefit of time, you like can trust them that they're saying it from a kind place.
And it's like we just do it all the time, so it doesn't even feel that way. But like I know if I had to go to this friend and bring that same thing up, it would be a very uncomfortable situation. Whereas I wouldn't even think twice about doing it with this
the
friend.
close friends. Interesting.
Yeah. So just like authenticity, and you know, when we parlay into sobriety, like that's really a word that pops into my mind too.
Interesting. Okay, cool.
My last question, number 3. Whoa, this is a good question. If you knew, I think I said that for everyone. If you knew that in 1 year you would die suddenly, would you change anything about the way you are now living?
I mean, yeah, I'd get the heck off of my what's it called? Air mattress. Like, I wouldn't have a lease. I'd quit my job. I would travel the world for like the first half, and then I'd spend the second half with like family, really close friends. I mean, I told you earlier, I've just been like burning through my bank account because of this move. So I just go all out and like
open up a credit card or 10.
10, just ball out. I mean, what they're gonna come for me, and then bye. So, yeah, I think it would just be a matter of like seeing as much as I can see in that period of time, and also being with people who like fulfill me. And yeah, a year. I don't know why I thought it was like the question was like in a month or something, because I don't know if I could do all that in a month, but a year.
Yeah.
I'd do a lot.
Hell yeah.
Go back to Bali.
Go to Bali.
Mm-hmm.
You could, I mean,
Check things off the bucket list. Go
you get a
skydiving.
5.
Oh my God, I would go like bungee jumping. Like, why not? You
I
know?
would probably consider it at that point.
That
I'm like
point.
not big into that stuff, but like if I know
Yeah.
that I'm gonna die, it's like, well, why not? At this
Paragliding,
point?
like all of it.
Yeah.
YOLO.
Hate heights, but you know,
Uh,
I'll get used to them if I
yeah, definitely.
like daily skydiving. Why not?
Yeah, just like going, it's like your mode of transportation to work.
Yeah. Well, why not? Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm not working if I have a year left.
Oh, yeah,
That's for
exactly.
sure.
I just give out therapy for people for free.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think if it was for me, I would like want to leave something behind. So I feel like I would pick a project
Ooh.
and like execute
that's
that
good.
project.
Ooh,
Even if
like
that
write a
project was
book.
like, hey, I have a 365 days I'm vlogging every single day up until then.
Oh my God. Pull out TikTok. Yeah, immediately.
Yeah.
That's
and then
actually
just
a
like
great
hire
idea.
camera crew and
I
like,
would let
work.
everyone know that that's happening too. I'd be like, we're having 365 going away party.
Yeah.
We are, yeah, that's a great idea.
You got to do it for the content, you know.
Get
If
some
I'm going down Instagram famous. Like that's how I'm
That's so funny.
that's how
actually.
I'm going down.
I mean, honestly, I'm sure there's someone out there who's doing that. You
Yeah.
know?
And they're probably not even
I
dying.
hope they're okay.
Hey, we might just cut this out of the podcast and then I'll just do it.
You'll just do it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Bad karma.
And then you'll
but,
be on like Dr. Phil and be like, why did you do that? And a lot
Yeah.
of people.
yeah, you know. They're all on Dr. Phil before they blow, so that just means I'm doing the right thing.
Exactly. I haven't decided which question I was going to ask yet.
She's just pulling from the memory bank. This is crazy. For those listening, I'm using my phone and she's just like pulling from her memory.
Okay, I also looked at it like 20 minutes ago, and I have a good memory.
Yeah, I don't.
I forget the exact question, but it was something along the lines of like, name 3 things you think we have in common.
Ooh. This is kind of easy.
Okay.
They're pretty big things though.
Okay, go. Well, the ones that you said already?
Like alcohol free.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want me to go that way?
Just say things besides that.
Okay. This is crazy because I've known her like 40 minutes.
That's the point of the question. It's like pause and like say things that you think you and your partner have in common.
Okay. Like an urge to share.
Yeah. That's one way of putting it.
An urge to be authentic. Just kidding. Adventurous. I would say adventurous.
Mm-hmm.
And
Urge to share is spot on and fine.
urge to share. Trying to think of one more.
When's your birthday?
Sagittarius, November 26th.
Oh, Thanksgiving.
Yeah, born on Thanksgiving.
Nice.
Same birthday?
No. What's your moon sign? You don't know?
No.
No? Okay.
Not sure.
Mm.
Let me think.
Get my salty drink.
I don't know because I don't know you. I gave like 5 though because I had like the podcast thing, the
Live in Austin.
live in Austin. Yeah, I mean, you try.
You said you like to run? You're
I
on a
don't
run?
like to run, but I do run.
Okay.
recently
well,
started.
I like to run. So maybe not in common.
Yeah.
Where like are you from? Like your family?
Kansas.
Blazik. No.
Oh. That's
That's like-
Kansas name.
It's Slavic?
No, my dad just made it up.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're not
I'm German.
No, I'm not at all. That's a cool name.
Maybe
though.
we should just transition into sobriety.
What about you? We both have a dog.
We do both have a dog.
Animal lovers, and adopted the dog.
Yes.
Adopt, don't shop.
Yes. Dog. Adopt, don't shop. I'm pretty sure I adopted, but I don't know. I bought it off a farm because they accidentally had puppies.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a rescue dad. I'm a rescue dad. Okay, let's talk sobriety. So what even prompted your, because like everyone, like people typically have a slow build up to this moment where they're I want to stop drinking, or I want to explore this. What'd your journey look like?
It was interesting. Like, so it's weird. Like growing up, or not even growing up, once I want to say maybe like college, early 20s, like around then, I just like kind of knew that I like had the, I don't know, what do you call it? Like
the gene?
Like I had experienced just like far too many, how do I phrase this? Psychological barriers or like hurdles that had the same kind of thing of like inability to control, or like over control, under control, between like eating disorders and anxiety, OCD. Like I just knew that my relationship with moderation is non-existent.
Yeah.
And so like it was weird. I just like, from being super little and knowing that like one day I was probably going to have an issue with like my relationship with food. And then once I was dealing with that, I was like, alcohol's next. Like I just kind of knew it in the back of my head. And then, but what's also weird is like when I was in college and stuff, specifically, like I remember being a freshman and all my friends were getting like wasted. You know, it was like their first time drinking. They were like having to go to the freaking urgent care, whatever it was, where they were like stomachs were getting pumped. And I was like, everyone eat your bread, like carbo load. Like I was such a mom. And then it really wasn't until like my own mental health started kind of not being super great that like my drinking wasn't great. And then I think then early 20s, I tried to do like sober Octobers, dry Januaries.
It always starts with sober October.
It always starts. And I'd always make an excuse for why I was doing it. Was like to honor my friend, to like, it was always just like, I felt like I had to put like an excuse or something. And yeah, like I had the I Am Sober app like downloaded before like 2 years, maybe even more than that, before I completely stopped drinking.
It's so funny when you look back at all the signs.
Oh, all the signs. Like,
it's like, oh, I've been listening to Sobriety Podcast. I have a sober app. I have
exactly.
like
but
all these
there's
things.
that pride that gets in the way. That's like, I don't need to. You know, like I'm not as bad as this person talking on the podcast. Like, because yeah, I didn't think I'd listen to a sober podcast, and like, and there was even a point, and like I'll never forget this because this was such a moment that like I look back on, where it was the January before I quit drinking, where I was doing a dry January, and I was talking to this girl who at the time I was like good friends with, and we had like similar, like part of like our falling out was that we are almost like too similar, and I feel like the things that it was just like unhealthy because like of, you know, the similarities were almost like enabling each other. And like I don't know what her relationship with the alcohol is now, but like
I know what you mean. Like
it wasn't good. You
like
know?
We can do it today. Like
yeah, and she was
like,
like,
it's Sunday,
why?
but we're
Like
good.
why are you like pausing drinking? You like your relationship with alcohol is fine. Like I drink more than you, and like almost like kept me on the wagon, off the wagon, whatever the phrase
I
is.
get confused on that too.
I don't remember. Just like it was enabling, you know. And I think back to that moment so much because it was such a like, you know, just because everyone else's drinking is not normal doesn't mean yours is. And it's like,
Yeah.
just to like look inward. And then that was January 2022. Fast forward December 31st, 2022, New Year's Eve. And it's just like, you know, people who are in like recovery and all that, they talk about like the rock bottom. And when I first quit drinking, I was like, I didn't have rock bottom, but like I can safely look back on this day and be like, that was it. That was it. So I was in New York and I went out with my sister and like my friend who's like basically my cousin. And just classic, drank too much, was like the person who overdid it. Went to a party, got too drunk. Don't remember anything after that, and then woke up in a hotel room in between my parents because my sister had, instead of letting me stay with her because I was visiting from Austin, taken me straight to the hotel they were staying at. And yeah, like there's nothing like being 27 and waking up naked between your parents and being like, oh, this is not cute. Like, this is brutal.
Yeah.
And then we had like a Hamilton performance the next day.
Oh my God.
And like a Nobu reservation. And I'll never forget, we were like sitting at Nobu and they were like, would you like anything to drink? And my mom was like, no, like slaps it out of the way.
She gets that controlling mom energy.
Yeah, she's like, there's no alcohol coming to this table. And I was like, you think I was going to drink? Like, I can't feel my head. Like, I am in so much pain. But yeah, that was it. I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I'm just going to make it my whole personality and really embrace it.
I mean, I feel like addicts have to do that because we're so all in.
There's really
whatever
like
it is.
no moderation. If you can do moderation, like I know plenty of people, my sister and my dad, like they can happily drink half of a margarita and like let it
crazy.
sit, you know? And I'm like, what? You paid $20 for that, you know? So I would love to be able to like have have a healthy relationship with alcohol and like be able to, but with like a lot of things, I don't know.
And you quit like a year. How long has it been?
It'll be 2 years this January.
And like once you quit, you haven't.
No.
See, that's awesome. Like I've definitely not had that journey.
Okay.
So like that's awesome that you haven't had that experience of like convincing yourself you can moderate, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Because the brain like tries to trick me all the time. Like, oh, we can moderate. Like we can just have 3 beers like just tonight.
Huh.
And then it's like, if I do it, I wake up and I'm like, oh, I should drink like right now. And
It's a slippery slope.
So slippery, yeah.
Yeah. It's weird because it's like I've never been to like a recovery meeting. Like I've never done AA. If someone hands me a White Claw, I can hold it for them while they're going on, you know, doing their own thing with absolutely no desire to touch it. But I think it's like the only time I've ever gotten like urges is when it's like wine, because that's the only thing. If I were to drink again, it would be wine.
Yeah.
But again, another slippery slope because like I could easily drink 2 bottles of wine.
Right.
And probably still be functioning. And like, yeah, I think there's this, have you ever heard of DBT?
I don't think so.
Dialectical Behavior Therapy. It's this behavior therapy that I really enjoy using with clients. It's very skills based, very like behavioral oriented. And it was started by this woman who is amazing. Her name's Marsha Linehan, and it's really used mostly for like borderline personality disorder, but there's so many skills in it that I think could be used for like anyone. And 2 skills that she does for people who have an addiction, like, and she started like why I think it's so effective is that like she started this therapy for people like herself because she had spent years in psych wards and had addictions to cigarettes and drugs and alcohol, like blah blah blah. And so all the skills she developed for this therapy, she's like practiced with herself. And so for addiction, there's this one called there's alternate rebellion, which is essentially just channeling that urge into something else, whether it's like cutting off all your hair, like giving yourself bangs, but almost like going so far to the other way of being like, yeah, I'm sober, like you drink, like almost, you know, projecting.
That's so funny because when I first got sober, I shaved my head.
And did it help?
I mean, I regretted it, but I don't know if it helped or not. But I had the urge to do it.
The urge, you just kind of like need to like
get it out.
Yeah. And then the other one is adaptive denial, which I really like this one, where it's like basically gaslighting yourself into not wanting something. So being like, oh, like I actually really don't want that drink. I'm going to have like a Diet Coke, you know, or like I really don't want, like doing something else instead of reaching for that cigarette.
And that's like Annie Grace's thing, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But it works, like for me at least, whether it's like takes time and practice, but with drinking, it was like drinking isn't even an option for me.
Yeah.
One day, maybe I'll reevaluate that, but that's like, I definitely don't have the healthiest relationship with weed, for example. Like, I think I smoked every single day I was in New York this past month. And it's one of those things where I'm like, again, well aware that one day I'll probably cut it out completely or change some part of my lifestyle, but at least
the consequences are lower.
Exactly. The worst thing that happens is what? I fall asleep and stay in for like
I'm that way right now with nicotine. It's like I like the Zen pouches.
Yeah.
And I just got on them because like I would go out with my friends or go to foot, and it's like I just want something.
Yeah.
And I didn't like the idea of vaping, and it's like, you know, some neuroscientists are actually
I picked
like,
up my Juul the second I quit drinking.
yeah, like a lot of like nicotine actually isn't like technically that bad for you other than like blood pressure, but
that's also probably your brain justify, you know what I mean? But it's fine because at the end of the day,
like neuroscientists use it though. I will say that.
I mean,
it's a focus mechanism.
It's like the salt. It's actually really good for you.
Yeah,
because
Zoe and I are drinking fucking salt water right now.
I like it.
Yeah, actually, shout out. You want to sponsor the pod?
Yeah,
Element.
I have a podcast too, so like even if he doesn't like it, you can sponsor me.
But it is straight up drinking ocean water, and I am not.
I don't hate it, but I love salt. I put salt on everything.
It's 1,000 milligrams of salt of sodium.
When you say it that way, I put salt on like, oh yeah, sodium is 43% of your daily value. Only 43%. So you should have 2 of these
a day.
Mm-hmm. No, but I put salt on like.
I'm just gonna
cream.
have like eggs.
Did your sugar like desire spike after you quit drinking?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Like I didn't have ice cream. I didn't like sweets before I quit drinking. Huh?
That's crazy, but yeah.
I didn't like sweets before I quit drinking. And then I quit drinking and I would like crush a tub of ice cream. And yes, like because I was a wine guy too. And wine metabolizes as sugar.
Oh yeah. No,
I mean all alcohol does, but like the red wine does like specifically in a way that's like a sweet.
Oh yeah, like the chocolate or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I always like sweets, but when I quit drinking, it was like I would order 6 baked bear cookies like every other day, maybe.
Yeah. And you like when you're sober, you give yourself permission to do anything.
Oh yeah.
Like alcohol free, I should say.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, I can do Zen, I can smoke.
Oh
I
yeah,
can
and the combination of like smoking weed and wanting cookies.
Yeah.
Terrible. It's incredible that I haven't gained like 100 pounds.
Crumble cookie. Yeah.
But then I'm also like, I'm saving so many calories because I'm not drinking.
Oh,
like...
see, yeah, and we're like, oh, I'm saving money. I'm gonna order Uber Eats. Like,
yeah.
The brain, the sober brain is like one of the most interesting brains out there because, like, we can justify anything.
Anything. It's interesting too. Like, I love like. There's obviously, as I'm sure you know, like a huge difference between like, or I don't want to say huge difference because this is probably a polarizing opinion, but addiction is a spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And that shouldn't be a polarizing opinion. Everything is a spectrum, but you know.
Cut it.
And yeah, sorry. But It is. And like, so for example, I feel very fortunate that like I can be in a room with alcohol, like someone else can be drinking and like I don't feel anything of like that urge.
Yeah.
You know, or like
I don't either.
And that's a very different experience than some people have who like, you know, need to be like completely separate from alcohol, can't be around people who are drinking,
Right.
can't, because those environments can be very triggering, and I really get that. So I like differentiate them by calling it kind of like the sober, curious space versus like the recovery space.
Yeah,
because I think
I see what you're saying. I guess like
what I'm
I
saying?
am definitely in the recovery space, but like my trigger is not that. Like my triggers are
Okay.
more like whatever. Like
what are your triggers, and like what?
like being my triggers are definitely like if I've had a long day or I'm excited. Like I slipped up a month ago
Wow,
for the first
okay.
time in like almost a year. And the studio closed down for like a month because they were remodeling all this. And I was just like, I came back, it was remodeled, I was excited, I recorded a podcast, and I was like on a fucking euphoric high. And it was like super nice out. And I was like, we're riding. Like I was just out of my mind, like I'm gonna do it. And I bought like a 6-pack and I only had 3 beers before I like kind of started getting a headache, and I was like, I'm like still sober enough to be like, I can be done with this. So it wasn't even worth it, but
Yeah, that's so
but like I
interesting.
do have that thing that takes over me for sure.
That's so interesting, like, because I know that feeling. I just think now it's almost like I don't even give myself permission to even think that is a possibility. And like, I remember when I first quit drinking, I had my friend Hope on my podcast, and she at that point was completely sober. Now she drinks, but that was something we talked about, was like this notion of almost not wanting or feeling the need to like cut something out entirely, put a label on something, all of that. And her thing was like she had just she'd been sober I think for like a year and a half, and then she signed a lease for her like first apartment as, you know, an adult in New York. And they were at this like really nice restaurant. She was with like her, I think she was like 75-year-old friend or whatever. It was something strange. And they brought out like really, really nice champagne in these little glasses. And she was like, you know what? Like, I deserve this tiny bit of champagne.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to go off the deep end after this tiny glass. And I remember being like, that seems really reasonable. And I, you know, for her, I think it is, and whatever. And, you know, I was 5 days into my sober journey. So like, what did I know kind of thing. But I really do think now, if I were to have a drink, like, it would be justification for every next drink I had.
Oh yeah. I mean, once I slip up, like,
Yeah,
the next week or two is war. Like, we're going to war.
Yeah.
We gotta like put on the armor because the demon, like,
Yeah, that's
and
scary.
it's like you justify it by being like, well, I drank 2 days. Like, if you get too attached to your sober streak,
Oh yeah, that's
versus,
the thing.
like,
My
big
OCD brain
picture.
loves seeing those numbers rack up. Like,
yes,
I pound the pledge now or pledge thing on my I Am Sober app, and like,
and you get to see that number change,
which is not healthy. You know, like,
Yeah.
it's not healthy to like know how many days and like be so attached to that number. But I am.
Yeah, I mean,
And
me and my
probably
therapist came to the conclusion that I should delete my app because I was working with her for like the last 3 or 4 years, but like after a couple years, it was like the theme was once I could go months or I could go like almost. I've never hit a year. I've been so close so many times, like within a month.
Dang.
But I would relapse, and then it was like I would come in the next week to see her, and I would have drank again, and she'd be like, "Why? Like what?" And I was like, "Well, like I wanted to," and she'd be like, "Could you fight it?" And I was like, "Yeah, like I could," but I had but I'd only drank 2 days before. So I only had a 2-day sober streak.
Yeah.
Which like doesn't really matter.
Yeah. No, it's really, I think, what do you think would help you? Like if you were about to have a drink, like what do you think you need to hear to not have it?
That's what's funny is like, I know what will help, but I won't do it. Like when I'm in that moment.
Like not buying the alcohol because having it in the room is like.
Like, but also like, I'm not going to call. If I really have that, like I want to do it. If my mind is in that, it's almost like, why would I? It's almost like stealing and then turning yourself into the police in a way. Because it's like, this is what I want to do. Why would I try and have
like nothing will get in your way kind of thing?
Yeah, and it's, I mean, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a plan or anything. I'm just saying like when I'm really in that mode, like it's my brain's in a different. Like this Blazik right now can't tell that Blazik.
Would like it help if someone else were to tell you, like if those friends?
If they were there in the moment.
Yeah, which is hard.
But like
But would anything, like do you think there's a part of you, like the part of you that kind of knew you shouldn't, that would be like comfortable or able to text a friend and be like, I really want to drink right now, just to kind of almost like give them permission to say no, don't do that?
I've done that before, but those are just more minor cravings because like, again, if I'm in that mode, I don't want to send that text. Like there would almost have to be the lower or the higher being of me to send that text. And I'm like not living in that vibration in that moment. I'm living like in this vibration. But yeah, I mean, like I feel like each round I get better. Like this last sobriety stint I had was like really solid and like I don't know, like part of it too, this is kind of shitty, but it's like I'm just a single guy, so it's like I don't feel like I owe it to like if I had a partner, I would be like, I can't do that to my partner. But it's almost like this freedom of like, and I know that sounds shitty because it's like, well, why would you do that to yourself? But it's also like I'm the one that has to deal with it, so it feels better. Same, almost the way of like I'll carry everyone's bag because I have to deal with it, and I'm okay with dealing with that, if that makes sense.
No, it does. I mean, I think like a lot of people, including myself, like, you know, if I hadn't had that night at New Year's, you know, if I had like instead of being taken to my parents' hotel, just gone to my own hypothetical apartment, like I'd probably still be drinking to this day.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when it affects other people is, I feel like, a very common story. But I don't know. That's tough.
Yeah, and we don't have to fix it now.
Yeah.
We don't have to fix it now. What are like some of your favorite unexpected things that have come out of sobriety?
I mean, it's cliche, but like everything, I think my favorite thing to come out of it is like the fact that I've had this is such an annoying thing to say, but it's true. Like when I started my podcast, I had a lot of people reach out and be like, thank you so much for sharing, blah, blah, blah. But it's my favorite thing in the world when someone is like, I'm thinking about quitting, like, and reaches out to me. And I like now feel almost like motherly towards people who I've seen quit drinking.
Yeah.
And like, you know, the same like disappointment when I go back to it, or like, you know, they slip up, and like knowing whether I know them personally or not, just knowing that they're in their minds, they're doing those same like that same dance of, yeah, well, actually, like I don't really need to quit drinking, like blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that's like definitely been my favorite thing, and it's something that with my therapy, like as a therapist, like I want to make my one of my niches. Like I really, really love working with people who are thinking about quitting. Again, I don't have my KSIC certification. I can't work with people in recovery, but more of the, again, like sober curious people, because I feel like I have enough distance from it where it wouldn't be triggering as like something like eating disorder recovery would be. But also kind of like the coaching ability to be like, do X, Y, and Z, try this skill, you know, and then just seeing the feedback from clients I've had being like, oh my God, my skin's so much better. Like I went to a wedding and I didn't drink. Yeah. And just, I also just like, I don't know if you had this experience, but I feel like one thing I was almost worried about when I quit drinking was like, I'm not going to be the fun one anymore.
Oh, I totally thought that.
You know, because I was like the one who always just really like would do whatever. If I was going out with friends, like just totally uninhibited. And it was like, well, when I stop drinking, I'm not going to like be super fun. And then it's like, oh, and this is one of my favorite things from, I want to say it's the William Porter book. I think that's his name. Alcohol Explained. Maybe. I don't know. I think it's that book. But he says, like, when you're drunk, like, you're not more fun. You're just, like, more stupid.
Yeah.
And you're the same, like, for it kind of it's his argument towards that, like, oh, I just need some social lubricant. I'm so awkward. It's like, you're more awkward when you're drunk. You just say things that you wouldn't have probably said if you had been sober, you know? And, like, I will never forget last, not May 2024, the previous May, when I was still living in Austin, I went out to Latchkey, and it was pouring rain, like downpouring, and everyone like went out and started dancing in the rain. It was like the most fun night of my life, and I was just like dancing on the table, like having the best time. And my friend comes up to me, he's like, "Oh my God, are you rolling right now?" And I like look him in the eye, and I'm like, "I am dead sober, Dylan." Like. And it was just such a good confirmation of like, I really don't need to drink to have fun. Like I am a lot sober. So
those moments are killer. When Jelly Roll fucked me up the other day. Did
you go to ACL?
No, I just saw like a podcast clip and he said,
is he sober?
He's not, no. He's actually like struggling, but
but he's open about it.
Yeah. And he said that he's never seen an addict not light up a room sober. Yeah.
Interesting.
And I think there's something to that because
1000%.
like there is some, like for me personally, I'm very attracted to addicts. Like whether that be like friendships, romantically, I'm like very drawn to addicts because I see it's in me, whatever it is.
Like birds of a feather kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's just like, I know, like, I'll get addicted to anything.
Yeah.
Like, I'll get addicted to running. I'll get addicted to, like, working, like, whatever it might be. And they don't always last, but that's not what it's, like, I'll get addicted to things. Like,
yeah, it's like an addictive personality.
100%. Like,
I've been
podcasting.
Really just being type A, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know many type B people who have trouble with alcohol. Like, it's that go, like need to, I don't know.
Yeah. I'm like I don't know if I would consider myself type A though. I am in some ways, but not always.
You said you like need to edit the podcast yourself. That's type A. Hate to break it to you.
I did say that. I did say that. But also like I'll outsource other. I guess it's just like if it's gonna
after and make sure that
if it's gonna represent me, then I'm gonna do it myself. But if it's something like I would let someone clean my house, and like
I don't think
I would even let someone organize my house. I wouldn't give a shit. They could reorganize my house. Fuck it.
That's still I would classify that as type A.
Okay,
and it's fine. Like think about all of the celebrities who are sober. It's like it's the type of person that just like needs to be like the best at something and to like and like just has a constant drive for success.
Yeah.
And doesn't like, okay, if you're planning a trip, do you plan everything ahead of time or do you just go? Oh, really?
I just go. I don't want to plan anything.
Okay, to be fair, when I went to Bali, I didn't plan anything ahead of time, which was a challenge for me.
Like, I like that feeling of not knowing anything. Like, that to me, that's part of the fun of like life, is just like, I'm just going to show up. And I get that I miss out on a lot of stuff or I do things wrong or whatever. But to me, it's just more about the adventure. Like,
then what
I'm going to stay at this shitty hotel on the side of this highway. And
what do you think is like the common thing then of the people that you're like
drawn to?
Considering addicts, yeah.
Just like that. Like, I guess more so just like the addiction part. Like when they talk about their addiction or they talk about when they first started feeling these feelings or coming to like realizations or whatever it might be. And then when I see what they're doing now, a lot of them are like podcasters or a lot of them are really like into health. And
well, my question for you would be like, it sounds like the people you're describing have all come to the realization that they need to like stop whatever the behavior is. You know,
I would say, maybe I'm fucking up here. Like, I'm saying they're sober now.
Yeah. Because,
but I think,
are you drawn to the people, you know, like, is specifically, I think in a place like Austin, I'll be real, like you go out, you know, to 6th Street or something, and there's probably thousands of people who shouldn't be drinking.
Yeah.
It's hard about a place like this is like it makes it very easy to justify whatever you're doing because you're like, well, at least I'm standing. You know, like these people are literally
people
falling
are puking
over
and fighting right beside you.
Right, exactly. So you're like, like I can have a glass of wine because this guy over here is on 5 different drugs that I didn't know existed. And so I think it's the person you're describing has the self-awareness
100%,
that like is, I think, very important for like important distinguisher.
Yeah,
you know
no,
what I mean?
you're totally right. Like, I'm not addicted to the chaos, like the people that are still in the chaos. Like,
Yeah.
I'm very drawn to peace. I'm very drawn to calmness.
I don't know if this happens to you, but like, do you ever see like whether it's someone you like know or like for me, I feel like this happens a lot when I say adult because as if I'm not an adult, but you know, like adults with kids or something, and you're just like, oh, that person shouldn't be drinking. Like, I don't know if do you have that experience, or I'm just like,
I might have the thought, but I think I try and dismiss it really quickly because
I get way too attached, and I just like feel the like not even secondhand embarrassment, but more like, I guess maybe it is. It's more of like, oh man, like that person hasn't like discovered the greatness of not doing it.
I totally get what you're saying. I guess I don't want to, and I can't. It's not like I can make them change, or I probably wouldn't talk to them anyway. But
yeah,
I guess I just try and like live and let be. And like I had a sobriety podcast. I don't know if you knew that, but it was me and then a younger woman from Chicago, Julia. She was that one sober friend on TikTok. I don't know if you ever we were kind of like 2 sober creators on TikTok, and we for like the younger voices, and we combined and did a podcast. And we did like 60 episodes, and like that felt like my outlet for if you want my input.
Got it.
Like I'm I'm seeing the views, you know I'm impacting lives over here. Whereas, so like in that situation, I think that helped me feel less detached because it's like I'm helping the people I need to help. Like I don't need to.
You said you had 60 episodes. So were you sober that entire time?
No.
How was that?
I was. Yeah, we would talk about it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, because I mean, for me, podcasting. Oh my God.
But it wasn't like I would drink. I would just maybe have like 2 bad days, and then we'd be good for like 5 months or something. Like yeah.
Okay.
So it wasn't like I was ever like drinking throughout like multiple episodes or anything.
But you would talk about it. That's
yeah.
for me, like I think the thing that honestly helped me stay sober is my podcast, because like the minute I quit drinking, I made the like corniest episode of my life, and like it's still out there, where it's like 10 minutes of me being like, so I've decided to quit drinking, and like I'm not gonna be able to, have a glass of champagne at my wedding, and like blah blah blah.
Just so dramatic a day in.
So dramatic. Yeah, literally a day in, probably. But in my defense, once it was out there, I was like, I can't really go back on this.
No.
So,
Yeah.
like, I guess I haven't been doing the damn thing. And then it was one of those things where like I'm the type of person that gets like bursts of motivation. Like I can't be like consistently motivated, but I'll get like an idea, and I was like, oh my God, I have a whole new podcast segment. We just interview sober people. And so it was like reaching out to, a ton of different people who are publicly sober. And
yeah. Well, I saw you had Elizabeth on. Like she listened to my old podcast.
Yeah.
Like
Elizabeth Vargas. Yeah, it was like her, Annie Grace, Carl Radke. Like it was just like,
all sober. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was great because I got content and I learned a lot. You know? Like,
for sure.
I read like every single book that has ever been written about sobriety, like the How to Quit Drinking or whatever it was called, the book that everyone recommends, Quit Like a Woman, great book. How to Stop Drink. What is that guy?
The Annie Grace one is the one that I feel like everyone,
Mind.
like that's the one that I feel like people always hear.
She talks about like how, did you find that your drinking was worse when you were in sales?
Yeah. It's very stressful.
Stressful and also
highs.
Sales is like schmoozing. Like you're literally.
That part didn't bother me as much.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah.
It didn't bother me as much, but it was one of those things that in hindsight I think back to, and I'm like, oh, everyone I worked with is, like we had
sales is very, very much that culture. Yeah. But for me, it was just I told you, my triggers were like highs and lows.
Oh, yeah, sales is not good for that.
Highest of highs, lowest
like
of
New York
lows.
as a city.
Yeah. Like like you're sitting in your room alone, like you've never been more lonely, and then you're out in the city, and you're like, well, you can still feel lonely in the city, but
like you go in Manhattan, and if you come back to your apartment, the first thing you're like, I need a drink. Just
I could decompress.
Yeah, which is like, again, have I reached for other things? Probably. Like, should I not be?
Yeah.
It's really easy to justify smoking weed in New York because you're like, A, it's legal and sold everywhere, and B, it's the most stressful city in the world, and so there's that. But no, it's so funny how life works. Like, I'm the my cousin. This is actually really interesting. So he's like 5 years younger than me. He quit drinking. Well, actually, I don't know how long he's been sober for, but he got sober in college, and he had like a big Adderall addiction, I'm pretty sure. Which I think then like when he quit that, he also quit drinking, I'm pretty sure. But now he works as like, I don't know the word. It's not escort, obviously. But basically he like goes and like finds people and escorts them to rehab. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like a sober companion. That's what it's called. He has the craziest stories. Like,
I can imagine.
I should like introduce you, because at Christmas he was telling these stories and we were just like my tiny little cousin, I've known him since he was like a little baby, and now he's like flying off to like Dallas to find some person who's like
he's like
missing,
like a bounty hunter,
essentially. And he then brings them to that like really nice rehab in Pennsylvania where John Mulaney went.
Wow.
Wild.
Wow.
My aunt is like constantly stressed.
That's crazy. That's the dream job right there.
I know, he makes so much money.
Really?
I mean,
I thought it'd be fun, but you wouldn't make much. But
because the people,
but rehab is like $1 million.
Exactly. That one in Pennsylvania, the one in he sent people to that one in Arizona too, where it's like $60,000 for like 3 months or something.
That's crazy. And really, they just like lock you up and be like, okay, we're going to
don't even know.
Class.
A wellness.
Yeah, I don't
essentially.
really know what.
The Meadows, is that what it's called? The one in Arizona?
I don't know.
I think it's like the Meadows. Sponsor me.
Sponsor. Hit us up for that
Yeah,
sponsorship.
do you guys need any remote therapists? I would love. Or like, there's so many. There's this one place that my friend interned at in New York that's like, they literally dub themselves like the Soho House of Rehabs. And I'm just like, wow.
It's like a brand.
It's like, wealth really has no, there's like classism even in addiction. Like, it's crazy.
Like you can go to rehab with like Joe Schmo the teacher, or you can go to rehab with like Kanye West.
Or what's that thing that they say about, have you been to AA? I don't know if I'm allowed to ask that. What do you like? What is your opinion on?
Not for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to say much more because it might be for someone else. So
yeah,
I would just say not for me.
I never did. And like, one thing I think about a lot, like I didn't not do it for any reason. I think for me, it was just like the creators that I found and like the books I listened to, none of them were like supporters of AA.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I guess I shouldn't check it out. And I wasn't feeling like the urge to drink again, so I didn't need like a sponsor. You know, I didn't need someone like telling me not to do something. But I think where I would have liked it is like the community aspect. Like I feel like I don't really have a solid sober community.
See, that's where it was nice, like when I had my sobriety TikTok, because like I had some videos that blew up, and like I just built like a really solid of like 20, 30,000 people, but they're all like there for that reason, you know. And then I did these meetings online called like Recovery Elevator, and it was like Cafe RE is like the meeting. So Recovery Elevator is the podcast, Cafe RE is like the clubs, and they're not like AA in the sense of like all the structure and you have to have a spot and like all of that. It's just like meetings, and it's like young person meeting, men's meeting, open meeting, women's meeting, and you just show up and you guys talk and you just talk about sobriety, and it's very casual, but it's a Facebook group too, so you can hit people up and people become friends, and it gets kind of regional. So like Austin has like a solid sobriety community.
I'm sure. And I think especially with Austin, there's like that health intersection of people who just, you know, do 75 hard, and like
a lot of the healthy people I meet here do not drink.
Yeah.
Like
same.
Or they drink like twice a year.
Yeah, exactly. Which like would love to have whatever relationship they have with alcohol, because they can have moderation, and that's the goal. But I remember before I moved to New York, I connected with like a bunch of people at Soho House who were like all do you know the Collective?
Yes.
Yeah, they all went to the Collective, and I didn't, but I hung out with them anyway. And
Lucky you.
I know. I still want to go. It's like $400 a month, but not my budget right now. But they were all, you know, sober for health reasons or like lifestyle reasons. And it's refreshing, I think, too, especially in a city like Austin, where you have the group we talked about previously of definitely not sober. And it's funny thinking back to like my last month here, because I really just bounced between friend groups, and like one of them was the group that was doing drugs that I had never heard of before, and the other was this group that was like, yeah, we're gonna go wake surfing tomorrow at 7 a.m. You down? You know, like really got both
swing of things. Yeah.
And then I just was fortunately able to.
You were curious.
Do both.
Yeah.
While not drinking.
Yeah.
Which is a big like asterisk mark, you know.
Right. Well, we got to wrap. That was really fun. I like the.
Wait, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a question I always ask at the end of my podcast. What do you love most about yourself? What's your favorite quality about yourself?
Yeah, I would say I'm pretty empathetic. I can like really put myself in other people's positions, and yeah, I would just say like I feel like I'm a good listener and I'm empathetic.
That's a good one.
What about you?
My curiosity.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I get that answer a lot too. Curiosity, because I think it's, you know, why you probably started a podcast, because you were curious about other people or curious about a certain subject. It's like, lends itself well to this type of work.
It does. Yeah, you're right. Like you're just very curious. Like I finally came up with a word to describe this podcast, because everyone's like, what's it about? And I'm like, it's about exploration.
Ooh,
like,
that's a good one.
Because I don't know how else to define it. But every podcast I am like exploring something. Yeah. Well, how can people find you? Shout them out.
Oh my gosh. I have a podcast called Solace and the City, and it is wherever you find your podcasts. And I recently made my TikTok or my Instagram private, which is probably for the best, because I am a therapist. And so, yeah, you can follow me and I will approve you.
Cool.
Zoe Scur.
It'll be in the description. And yeah, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.